Okay, so the time has come to process a roll of film. I'm going to briefly demonstrate how to load a finished roll of film into the processing tank, which will then lead us into actually processing the film. But this video is only going to cover loading the film into the tank, which I will remind you is something that does need to take place in complete and utter darkness, in a light, tight environment. So just keep that in mind. This is never something that you would do out in the classroom, and it's never something that you would do in the dark room if the safe lights were on. Okay? So first things first, let's just talk about all the stuff that we need. Clearly we need our roll of film. We will need a pair of scissors for this. We will need a film canister opener, and then we need our tank. Our tank has a lid, which is kind of an optional step, but it will need a funnel, which is certainly not an optional step. And this is partially the reason why our tanks can stay light tight, the funnel. So very important ingredient. We will need a reel, which is what we will load our film onto. We want to make sure that our reel has a reel column installed, which along with the funnel is what will keep this whole thing light tight. Okay, so absolutely crucial that we have all of those things. And then of course the tank itself. Okay, so first I'll move my tank off to the side so I have a little bit more space here. I will not need that yet. And let's talk about getting our film ready to reel. Okay, so you take your roll. Your roll should not have any film coming out of it. In the process of rewinding the film, you know, the film should be entirely rewound back into this canister. But now we need to pry open the canister to get the film out of it, and that's where this comes in handy. Okay. So you use the opener just like this. It goes kind of under the edge on this side and over the edge on this side, and you just want to apply a little bit of pressure until that cap comes off. Once it comes off, you can now get your film out, but before you take it all the way out, what I want you to do, and remember you do kind of have to do this in the dark, is I want you, before you take your film all the way out of the canister, I want you to try to find, if you can, the narrow piece of the film, which is what we used to load the film in the first place. Okay, you may remember that narrow piece of film that we loaded the film into the back of the camera with. We want to remove that from the canister again so that it's almost looks like a brand new roll of film, except that it's missing a piece. But doing this will make our job easier when the time comes to reel it. Now remember, we wasted a bunch of this film when we loaded the camera, so give yourself, you know, a good 6 inches or so, and then you have to cut as straight as you can that first part of the film off. Now that's garbage. Okay? Now we want to load this film onto our reel, but keeping it in the canister will actually make that a little bit easier. Okay, so we'll get our reel out. We want to find the part of the reel that sticks out a little bit, and we can do that by touch in the dark. And we will remember that about an inch beyond that is where we have our little ball bearings. So we need our film to be loaded onto the reel, and again, this is the kind of thing that you should practice just about as much as you can ahead of time. We want to load it enough so that it goes past those ball bearings, because that's what's going to keep it on the reel as we start to reel it up. Now, keeping one arm steady, in my case I'm keeping my left arm steady, and rotating the other half of the reel will slowly but steadily take the film out of the canister and into the grooves in the reel, which is going to be necessary for processing the film without letting the film get stuck to itself. Now ultimately, as you can see, ultimately you will get to the end. And at the end is it will, won't let you reel anymore. In the end, it's what you're coming up against here is this little piece of plastic. So once you get to that end, you're going to take your scissors again and just cut that last piece off, which if we took it out and looked at, looks like this. But this is garbage as well. Okay, we'll reel that film on the rest of the way. And then this goes in the tank. Now remember, this reel column is a crucial component of keeping this tank light tight. So in order for this whole unit to remain light tight while you are processing, this piece of the reel column that protrudes from the bottom of the reel needs to go facing down. Okay? The reel column is not the same on both sides, so we do need to make sure that this part is facing down when we drop the reel into the tank. Then our funnel, so you can see this piece of our funnel here actually fits into the reel column, which is how the whole system stays light tight, and then can be rotated into place until it clicks in. And now this is a light tight unit that we can pour chemicals into and pour chemicals out of, our developer, our stop, our fix, and then ultimately our wash. We will not remove this funnel until we are done in the fix. Remember, the fix is the chemical that prevents our film and photo paper from being sensitive to light anymore. So until we are done with the fix, this funnel stays in and is not removed under any circumstances. And the lid is just to keep the chemistry from overflowing as you are processing and agitating and making too big a mess.